You guys didn't get mad at me for last week, did you? Not that I'd give a fuck, but I burnt you worse than Cena burned Roman.
Get the fuck out of here. Who gets mad at an old senile bitch, you talk shit?
Listen, if you did your fucking job, you wouldn't need me to get laughs.
You know, you're not as big as a deal as you think you are, Ma.
Listen, I get more fucking laughs doing this part-time than you do full-time.
Oh, Mom.
It's time for another wrestling podcast.
Welcome back to another wrestling podcast. I'm Credo.
Naturally, I'm everyone's favorite asshole, the social assassin, Angry Cooter.
And Minority Mike is not with us this week. He is actually on the move. I think he's moving over to the parts unknown. But he'll be back next time, right? So right now we got episode 166 of AWP. Guys, if this is the first time, once again, anotherwrestlingpodcast.com. Check us out. All the links are on there. Like us, follow us, subscribe to us, leave us some love. 1 week later, we have, the aftermath of Conor McGregor and Floyd Money Mayweather. Cooter, man, what'd you think of this fight? Did you stay up to watch it? When did it start? It didn't even start till 12 o'clock at night or something? It was...
Oh, I was having such a hard time because...
You're pushing that.
Well, it was my girlfriend's birthday, so I couldn't even order the damn thing, right? I actually went over to Nyack to go watch Tracy Morgan perform stand-up at Levity Live. Great little club. Such a great time. And here I am going on Facebook because you know there's going to be some asshole who's going to put their cell phone in front of the TV and record this thing and stream it live. Like, you seriously, you assholes. Let me just say that. You're an asshole. You spent $100 on a fight and you'd rather sit there and hold the phone forever. Thank you, but you're still an asshole.
Yeah, man. It was the land of illegal links out there. I'm guilty. I stumbled upon the link. I'm not gonna say what or where or whatever, but it was a good stream. I definitely didn't want to pay $100, but man, it was a good fight though. I'll tell you that. I mean, it lasted. It wasn't like 4 rounds. That's it. Somebody got knocked out really quick. But I'll tell you what. You know what really bothered me? A few things that bothered me about this fight is that Floyd just kept turning his back during the fight. Like, what is that? Come on. I mean. That bothered me a little bit, and then the other thing that bothered me a lot I was going back and forth with Mike on this, is that they gave him a TKO knockout. The ref stopped it. He was winded, he was gassed, and I have nothing but respect for all these MMA guys, boxing guys. Trust me, nothing but respect. But when it comes down to it, when people are paying $400,000 for seats, I want to see somebody get knocked out. I want to see a knockout win. I want to see, I don't want the ref to stop it. Like, I know he's looking out for his safety, but come on, let somebody get knocked out for that much money that's being thrown around.
I'm going to disagree with you. I got to give Conor McGregor all the credit in the world. He lasted way longer than I thought he would. Technically, in 10 rounds, he landed more punches against Floyd Mayweather than Manny Pacquiao did in a full 12-round fight, which is an interesting stat. But, I mean, in terms of a TKO, dude, if you're not, defending yourself and you're getting hit with clean shots, it's part of the game. It's time to hang it up, bro. The ref calls the fight. Fight is over. I had no problem with that stoppage. Was it a little premature? Maybe a smidge, but again, in this day and age where we're dealing with concussions, you got to watch out for the fighter's safety. I think it was a good call. He wasn't defending himself. He was getting his ass kicked in those later rounds. My problem with the fight was the scorecards, the way they came out.
Yeah, I was looking at that.
I was very surprised because, listen, I'm not the greatest, fight analyst, but in terms of what I saw, those first couple of rounds, at least the first 3, you could have gave to Conor McGregor. I think one ref gave him the first 3 rounds, and I think the other 2 judges maybe gave him 1 round. And I'm like, I'm not watching the same fight.
I know.
And thank God it stopped on a TKO the way it did, because if they went to the cards, there would have been hell to pay, because there would have been some pissed off people.
I did not get that. And like I said, I don't, analyze this to her, but from what I'm watching, exactly like you said it, when I saw those numbers of who landed what I'm like, are you kidding? Are they just being biased because he's not a boxer, or, you know what I mean? And I'm like, that fight, man, Conor definitely had the upper hand on some of those rounds, and come on, I think there's definitely some bias in there, I think, for Floyd and the whole boxing community. So, it's one of those things where you step into somebody else's yard, and they're not going to like you so much, so they're probably not going to give you all that love. But
well, not only that, but you think of it this way: if it was that, because you got to be honest, he was in that fight. If they would have scored it the way that the CompuBox numbers for punches landed in the rounds and this and that, like Conor McGregor technically, on the scorecards, I don't want to say but he's in the game.
Yeah.
And a lot can happen in 2 rounds. He could get lucky and get a knockdown. Something could have happened if he would have lasted the next 2 rounds. So, I mean, thank God it didn't go to those cards, though. That's all I got to say, because there would have been disputes, and he would have been crying the blues that he lost that fight, and probably would have been forced to have a rematch.
Yeah, but these big fights, once again, I just got to say, man, all that money being dropped. This guy's getting $30 million. This guy's getting $300, whatever. I just want to see somebody get knocked out like Tyson's Punch Out. But either way, it was exciting though. I was excited for that fight. Usually, boxing, it definitely is taking a backseat to UFC fights, especially being in the land of exciting anymore. So definitely, that the hype was definitely worth it. It was definitely a good night. But
oh, definitely, and big up to Conor McGregor, because he actually agrees with you. He's like, if I'm going to get paid all this money and I'm going to go down, let me go down. That's what he said after the fight, so I give him all the credit in the world.
Yep, and like I said, I understand why they did it, but, that evil part of me just wanted to see one of them.
Of course,
just one of them, just because, okay, then you can say, okay, the other guy won. But a lot of bombs are being dropped, a lot of pipe bombs. Cooter, Raw, where did this come from? Because
this made me so happy.
John Cena landing the promo on the new Golden Boy, Roman Reigns. Man, Vince had to be mad at somebody, or I don't know if he told him to do it, but Roman Reigns did not come out looking good at all on this, and I don't even know what to say, Cooter. I mean, this was great. This is, boo Cena all you want, but man, he showed you why he's been in the top of that mountain for 10 years right there, and why Roman Reigns can't really catch up. Tell me about this promo, man, because that was golden, and are they wasting this match at No Mercy or whatever? Should this be a Mania match?
The way this is being built, I was just going to say, there were 3 lines in that promo that made me say, holy shit. And, I mean, I might not remember all 3 of them. I remember one of them was, I could do this. You should be ashamed that I'm a part-timer because I can do this better part-time than you ever could full-time. The reason I'm still here is because you can't do your job. Oh, my God. I forget what the 3rd line was, but this was just – that was the one. It's a promo. If you're going to be the big dog, then you're going to have to learn how to do it. Holy shit. Like, this is just straight venom, and this is –
yeah.
And Mike brought this up last week. Because I rewatched the John Cena Baron Corbin match from SummerSlam, and he's sitting there telling me how he was talking shit to Corbin going outside the ring and making jokes with JBL. But John Cena's been an asshole the last few weeks. He's not being a heel, but he's kind of being an asshole, and I'm starting to enjoy it. I think I'm finally. I'm not saying that I like John Cena. I'm starting to appreciate him now.
Yeah. It was definitely was Vince homesick that night? Was it his idea? Was he pissed off backstage? Like, I want to know whose idea, what was happening backstage, because, we all hear the stories of what Vince does backstage and, what he gets mad at and this and that, but to have your 2 golden boys kind of diss each other, and I mean, a promo is a promo, and like keeping within that realm of what we're trying to do to get to the next fight. But this one was like shitting on your character, shitting on just you in general. Like it was a different kind of promo, and I was really surprised by it, and just the use of what they were saying. It was. I don't know. Maybe John Cena doesn't want to give up his throne. Maybe he wants to, get these guys to step up their game more. I don't know what, but. Man.
I hope this was really a shoot, because if this was written for them, it pisses me off.
Yeah.
Just for the simple fact. No, and hear me out. Because Roman says this is what he does. He takes what you say and he spins it a certain way. And he talks about bringing out the golden shovel, so on and so forth. And John Cena will, you're just saying what everybody else says. And he pretty much cut the same promo on Roman Reigns that he did the Miz during the WrestleMania thing. And anybody else prior who has said something similar. If this was written for them, shame on you. And if I'm Roman Reigns, I would be pissed off because you make me look like everybody else who you've put in front of Cena. And this is the guy that is supposed to be passing the torch to him, supposedly. So what is the point? And if I'm Roman Reigns, I would have cut him off and been like, because Cena says that you're just like everybody else. You're using me as an excuse. I didn't see Roman say anything about John Cena using him as an excuse for why he's not succeeding. He never said that. So again, in a certain way, he's right. You spinning it a certain way to try to get yourself over. That's not what he said.
Yeah.
And it was kind of annoying from that aspect. But I mean, who am I to get upset over somebody spitting some hot fire, Credo? Come on now.
That's right. Well, it was definitely interesting, but everybody also was talking about, like I just mentioned before too, is why are they wasting this match on a B pay-per-view? I mean, we just got out of SummerSlam. This would have been great at SummerSlam. Or why not wait till Survivor Series? Hell, is it kind of like, are they testing the waters at No Mercy to see if they can build onto this later on? Or, I don't know, you think a Cena versus Roman Reigns, your two top boys, would be a big, match at one of the top cards, right?
I think that would be a WrestleMania match.
I know.
That's like Rock versus Hogan, passing the torch. Andre versus Hogan, passing the torch. That's what this is supposed to be, and you're wasting it for No Mercy. And like Mike would say, this is typical WWE booking. They're blowing their load prematurely. It's like they come up with this great idea. No, let's save it. Let's save it. No, they don't want to save it. They drop that load in that sock and they throw it across the room and then they roll over and go to sleep like a real man should.
Well, that's one way to put it. Well, even like this, what I hate as of late, and I know we get a bunch of, best out of 2, best out of 3, best of whatever, and after a while, you just like, this is like the 7th time we're seeing the same damn match, and I hope it doesn't turn into that, because this kind of a match, you want, like, I don't know, at least 3 matches, but not back to back to back. I mean, I would just go for one good match, but even just wasting it at No Mercy, I think, as I say, and, the whole wrestling community out there says, I think it's premature. We'll see what happens, though. But, this week was also another big week for WWE with the Mae Young Classic getting on board. They dropped the first 4 shows or episodes. Cooter, did you check it out? What did you think about it? A lot of people, I'll tell you though, are having gripes about the commentary team. And, I love Jim Ross, but I don't think Lita is probably the best partner for him. She's good in small doses, but I don't think they're having the quite good chemistry as they should be. I don't know. But the Mae Young Classic is underway. What have been your thoughts about these matches?
It's funny. I had no work today. I watched the Mae Young Classic Monday after work, all 4 episodes. And, there's some girls over there that I was kind of upset to see get bounced in the first round. One of them being Tessa Blanchard, even though that was an incredible match that she had with, I forget the girl's name, was the Japanese competitor who does that amazing elbow as her finisher. Such a great match, but you hate to see somebody like Tessa Blanchard, who's gorgeous as fuck, on top of the fact that, she's a hell of a worker. Another classic example would be Santana Garrett. That girl was doing some really cool shit. And look, I don't want to take anything away from Piper Niven, because
I don't think you've taken anything away from her. I think she still has it all.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Very well played. But, that would be somebody I would love to see in the later rounds. Some of these first rounders, that you just scratch your head. And it reminds me of the Cruiserweight Classic, which is what I wanted to say today. I actually watched the finale for that, which makes me hate, 205 Live altogether as a concept. Now, after watching that again, but again, the commentary team, we have Mauro Ranallo and Daniel Bryan. Daniel Bryan is somebody I would love to see on commentating full time. Yeah. Can we not make him a GM? Let's get rid of JBL and put fucking Daniel Bryan on there. He's an amazing commentator. Lita, I really wanted to. I I can't even think of a good metaphor or something that I would like to stick broken glass in my eardrums.
Oh man, yeah, she's like I said. I think she's good in small doses, but not going one-on-one with JR. I mean, it was just one of those things that probably looked good on paper than it did on the actual
You know what it
show.
reminds me of? It would be like Michael Cole doing commentary with just Booker T. No, I don't mean that as a joke. It's just like I think they've tried that once and it didn't work very well. It works better with a 3-man team because, again, Booker T is good at what he does in small doses. And I think if they had somebody else calling those matches as the color commentator and just letting her, throw in some of her ad libs, it would be all right. But you're right. They just have terrible chemistry. And if you could add a third person to that commentary team, who would it be?
Yeah, I would
That's
tell
the
you.
question.
Oh, I'll tell you right there is that I would even get rid of Jim Ross. I mean, if you want to kind of make it a women's classic, I would keep it all women. We see the first women's referee in this for the WWE. I forget her name, forgive me, but the first women commentator, and then having just women on commentary, I think would be great. I would put Renee Young in there because they use her for all these stupid backstage things and whatnot. I would love to see Renee Young actually call a match just to see what she was doing.
I don't think she could do it.
No?
I don't think she could do it. I don't think she could call the match or call the holds. It's a different style. You like an interviewer is very different than a play-by-play analyst and a color commentator. I mean, I could see her as the third person. I could not see her in either of those other two commentating roles. It's a different beast.
Yeah. Be interesting. I mean, I know they plan on having what the hell's her name? Alundra Blaze be a part of it, I think, on the later rounds to do some commentating, so I'll see how that goes. But yeah, it was definitely like I said, Jim Ross is great. Just keep Jim Ross doing it by himself, maybe. But I mean, it depends on who you have with him. You got to mix that well, I guess. But who
else stuck out to you in that tournament?
Abby Lath. I'm a big Kimberly fan. She was actually on the show about a year or so ago, believe it or not.
Yes, she was.
But not thinking the new name, but I'll tell you what, that match definitely was great. Her versus Jazzy Gabbert. I don't know these names, sorry, but it's Jazzy. We'll just go with that one. Abby Lath versus Jazzy was definitely a great match. It was that strong, that Russian girl, right?
I believe so, yeah. I forget what her name was. Serena Deeb, my God, where did she come from? Back from the dead, literally. That she impressed me. Who I really dug was Toni Storm. She's the one who had the little hat.
Yep.
She was cool.
Definitely a unique character.
Yeah, it's like a call girl almost. It was kind of cool. Dude, that girl, Nicole Savoy, when she beat that girl, Reina Gonzalez, I think her name was. She was the one who came out with the full gi.
Yeah.
Oh, that girl was awesome, and this girl has been doing jobs on NXT.
Yeah, I was gonna say you actually had some girls over from TNA, Maya Yim, and I believe is it Mercedes Martinez?
Yes, I believe that was it. Yeah,
those girls were from TNA. But one of my favorites for this, not only I wish Abby Lath would go all the way to the final round, but Candice LeRae was. I didn't think the match was phenomenal, but
it really wasn't that good of a match.
She's really good. Like I love her, but I don't think her and Renee Michelle didn't really have the greatest of matches. But still, I would see Candice LeRae making it to the finals, along with some of these other names too. But yeah, you mentioned Tessa Blanchard. I'm surprised by that.
That's a heartbreaker.
Being the third generation, second generation, whatever, a wrestler, just not having her go on and losing it in the next round or something. But
that reminded me from the Cruiserweight Classic last year when Gargano had to wrestle Ciampa in the first round.
Yeah.
Or I think it was Cedric Alexander had to wrestle in the first round when he lost. I'm like, these were matches you could have had in like quarterfinals. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and from watching, because I multitask while I do a lot of this stuff, so I can't just focus on one thing sometimes.
Yes.
But so the winner, I assume, is getting this trophy, right? But this is kind of what they did with the Cruiserweight Classic, to where they just said they were getting a trophy, but then like the finals, he was like, and we're bringing back the Cruiserweight Championship. So I know they're not going to just give him a women's championship out of this, but I think they'll probably be maybe a number one contender for a pay-per-view kind of a thing, or I don't know, number one contender for that vacated NXT Women's Championship or something like that? Do you think more of these girls are going to go towards NXT, or they're just going to shuffle them all over?
I would love it if they did. If they took all the women on the NXT roster who were not in this tournament and had a mini tournament over there.
Yeah.
Right? And have the winner of that tournament versus the winner of this tournament for the vacated NXT championship. I think that would be cool because, again, you made up a great point last week where I said that they could probably use this to crown the new NXT Women's Champion. And this was before we found out Asuka vacated the title.
Yep.
You know what I mean? We found that out mid-show, remember? And you said, that's not really fair to the girls who have been on the NXT roster and who haven't had that opportunity. Some new person is just going to – so it's a great point, and I'd love to see it done that way. I don't think it'll happen, but, I mean, that would be cool.
Yeah.
Simultaneous tournaments. Women's wrestling taking over the whole summer for a vacated title. I mean, that's fantastic.
The Cruiserweight was last summer too, am I correct? Or what? Yeah.
It's literally been about a year. That's why I watched it.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Do you think they're gonna? I'm just thinking out of my head. I'm like, okay, you had the Cruiserweight last year. You have the women's the women's Mae Young Classic this year. Do you have a tag team next year? Do you have a like?
Well, they've been doing that at NXT for the last 2 years. They've had the Dusty Rhodes.
That's right.
Tag Team Classic.
That. Yeah.
So, and I'm like, I would love to see another Cruiserweight Classic because, I mean, from the matches that we saw from that tournament compared to the product that we're getting now, we've been complaining about this.
Yeah.
And, I mean, classic example. Why did we tune into 205 Live this week? I watched every show this week. All right. I don't know if you watched 205 Live.
I still haven't watched it yet.
No. Main event. Check this out.
All right.
Enzo Amore, Cedric Alexander, and Grand Metalik versus Drew Gulak, Tony Nese, and Noam Dar in a six-man tag. And I laughed because Enzo started the match with Drew Gulak and like almost tried and Drew just like pushed him off. Like, dude, Enzo Amore could not reverse a front face lock. Like he could not chain wrestle with Drew Gulak. And even if he could, I don't think Gulak would let him. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, so from watching that tournament today, I'm like, oh my God. There were so many matches that I would love to see. I mean, Gargano and Ciampa would make 205 Live such a better show.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, some of the guys they lost, like, oh God, what's his, Zack Sabre Jr., I forget the Japanese guy's name. I feel like such a douche. Kota Ibushi, there you go. God, all these guys, we haven't had any new additions to 205 Live besides Enzo Amore, Austin Aries, and Neville. Some of the guys are the original competitors from the tournament, and these matches are about a quarter as good as what we saw from that tournament.
Yeah. Well, speaking of the tournament, I mean, is there anybody? I mean, I know people are looking on the dirt sheets looking for spoilers, but we're not doing that. We're trying to watch it as it happens. If you had to pick one or two girls, do you think could win this? Who are you going to go with?
God, I have a feeling, I could see Serena Deeb going deeper into the tournament, like kind of how Brian Kendrick did, like the return of Brian Kendrick.
Serena Deeb going deeper.
I'm not saying she's going to win it, but I could see her going deep in the way that Kendrick did. Mm-hmm. That comeback classic story. You got to have one of those in there. I could see Candice LeRae taking it. I could see, Kairi Sane. I think she's going to be a favorite. She's a heavy favorite in my book. Oh, God. There's so many good names in here. Yeah, I could give it to Lacey Evans because she is that homegrown NXT talent. I would love to see Toni Storm. I think I'm very impressed by her. So, I mean, those are four names right there.
There you go. Yeah, man, I'm kind of on the boat with you. I definitely, like I said, I'm a big Kimberly fan. So Abby Lath, I would love to see go really far. Candice LeRae, I was really hoping for that Tessa Blanchard. But yeah, I'm on the same level with you with Serena Deeb. I think she definitely needs that little bit of a comeback thing for you. But it's interesting. We got
You're going to be mad when Piper Niven makes it to the finals, bro. And you know who's going to walk her down the ring is your boy, James Ellsworth. He's going to start a women's stable on SmackDown.
The new oddities. There you go. We're going to... But everybody gets a fair chance this time, so we'll see what happens. But, man, I could have a whole show about makeup and outfits and... some things you shouldn't just wear. But anyway, that's the Mae Young Classic, guys. We're gonna see a lot of that in the next few weeks. It's definitely happening. But we talked about some titles. Let's get right into it. We have another little. Let's talk about an evergreen topic, if you will. But this week, just I think there's a lot of hot potatoing going on with these championships. Once again, last week we saw Sasha Banks lose the women's championship again. Like, this year has been insane for the women's championship, going back and forth. I mean, right now Sasha Banks is a 4-time women's champion, and Charlotte's a 5-time women's champion. Well, 4 times women's and then 1-time divas, but now 5 times in 1 year. In 1 year, they're 4 or 5-time champions. Is that insane?
I think they said, Sasha Banks has not had a successful title defense every time she's won it.
Yeah, I'm like, man, I can understand if this was maybe 5 years or so into it, but 4 or 5 times already within a matter of how many months? That's insane.
I don't understand what they are doing with titles, because they either hot potato it around and throw it around, right? Or they have a guy hold on to a belt for God knows how long and make it so irrelevant that, classic example to me, when's the last time The Miz has had a title defense? He's been Intercontinental Champion, and I can't remember the last time he had a title defense. I mean, I know he's going to go up against Jeff Hardy now, but I mean...
Yeah, I know. Even on SummerSlam, he was the pre-show.
Won it, yeah. Yeah, he was in the pre-show with the Hardys.
It's like, what is the formula? Because, I mean, at one point you have the women's championship bouncing around back and forth. At one point it was like every week, it seemed, where they were losing to each other. And then you have, times like Asuka being the longest reigning women's champion in NXT with 510 days under her, to where it's either so long or it's bouncing back and forth. Like, what is the right formula for championships? It's just, I don't know. It's either too much, like, bouncing back and forth, or holding on to it for too long. It's like, I understand, like, for a world champion, I mean, like, I understand going 6 months or maybe a year with that championship. Okay, and then you lose it. In my mind right now, but I mean, other than that, when you're going week and week and week, it's like, what does this title mean anymore if it's just bouncing around like that? I know you got to add some, I don't know, anything to suspense or something to it. Something you got to keep having people tuning in, being like, "Oh, I should have watched Raw," because you never know when this damn title's gonna flip again.
It's ridiculous. But you know what the worst one was last year. Was the Cruiserweight title. So you put this belt on T.J. Perkins. Yeah. I think he might have held it for like a month and a half. Drops it to Brian Kendrick, who then drops it to Rich Swann, right?
Yep.
And it's like, oh God, would you
the hardcore
put the belt on somebody and go with it?
Well, what would you say is your perfect?
They finally did it with Neville.
Yeah, that's what. Yeah, exactly. Neville. That's what I don't know what they were doing, bouncing it back, trying to build a credible, a roster or something, saying, oh, he was a champion. But yeah, having Neville be that champion and defend it, so that's been a good reign that was a good reign for him. But when you look back at it, Tozawa won it for a week and then he won it right back.
Even 6 days.
I know. I'm like, you couldn't have had that change at SummerSlam. Like, I had to have it the week before. And then, so little things like that. But Cooter, in your mind though, what's I don't know, what's a good reign for a champion? Like the world.
I think it depends on the person. It depends on who you have on the roster, who you have chasing. What programs do you have in the mix? I mean, there's no easy formula to it. It's because when you think about it, if you fuck it up, you fuck it up bad. I'll give you an example. Let's go to TNA. Mm-hmm. Years ago, I mean, people were begging for Samoa Joe to be the world heavyweight champion, and by the time he finally won it, because they milked it, nobody gave a shit. I mean, they were going to house shows with Joe as the headliner. And, God, remember when they came? Poughkeepsie, it doesn't matter what company. They usually fill the seats. I mean, unless you're big-time wrestling, because they can't sell shit. But, I mean, any other promotion that's going in there, whether it's WWE, Northeast Wrestling, ECW, whatever it was, would sell that place out. Samoa Joe on top, and they pulled the trigger too late on him getting the champion. That was quarter full. And that was when they were on Spike TV.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, you tell me. When's the right time? When you?
I know. Well, here's some fun facts too, because the Intercontinental Championship changed hands 8 times in 2014 and 6 times last year. But get this: the United States title has turned over 17 times since 2015.
Oh
17 times, and I believe it was 7 times alone in 2017 this year.
Oh my God!
17 times in 2 fucking years. Holy shit. Man, like I'm saying, like I thought Jinder Mahal would have been one of those fast turnovers, but like I understand, like keeping it on him, having a program with some champions, Randy Orton going back and forth to establish him as a champion, and keep it on him for a little bit, but like. Man, like Jinder Mahal, his championship reign has been good right now. If he lost it at the end of the day, he could say he had a good run with it, and that's fine. But like like
good run.
Well,
yeah, I don't even think he's had it. What?
He's had it for a while now.
It's been like what? Not even 2 months.
He's defended it on 3 pay-per-views. He made the Punjabi prison match. He won it on a pay-per-view. I don't know what pay-per-view it was, but then he won it on a pay-per-view, defended it, and then it went to the Punjabi prison match where it was the 3 matches with Orton. And then SummerSlam, so it's we're almost into like 4 or 5 months now with him, believe it or not.
Oh, there's no way. It's got to be like 3.
Well,
think of it this way. I mean, SummerSlam was probably the same month as one of the SmackDown pay-per-views. These pay-per-views, dude, we laugh our balls off because they come like every 2 weeks, and we're like, what the fuck?
I know.
They come quicker than you think. So I mean, I don't know. You could be right.
Is it like, I don't know, in the world of non-stop wrestling, is that why we're getting so many turnovers? Because look at the week. Monday you got Raw, Tuesday you got SmackDown, then you got 205 Live. It's just there's so much wrestling going on, and then with a pay-per-view happening every other weekend, it's like, back in the day growing up, we had one pay-per-view every few months or something like that, and now it's just like non-stop shows, non-stop, 6 hours for SummerSlam. It's like, man, they gotta just do something to, I don't know what, to keep everybody their attention spans, I guess, are low. That
you can't keep anybody happy because it's either we're bouncing these titles around too much, and it's true because you do make the winning of the belt less. I don't want to say spectacular, but less important because it's like, well, somebody else won it 2 weeks ago. But then there's those people who will piss and moan that, oh, he's had that belt forever. Like, there were people who were genuinely pissed off back in the day that Punk had that long-ass WWE Championship title reign. And I'm like, I loved that. That was awesome. I mean, we'll never see something like that, at least from a WWE Champion perspective, that long for God. That doesn't happen. It's the longest reign as WWE Champion in modern era history. And then you got somebody like Asuka. I think it was, 500 days plus?
Well, here you go right now. I'm on WWE.com has this whole little section now for championships, and I'm on just for the WWE Championship. Right now, as of today, Jinder Mahal has held the WWE Championship for 101 days and 23 hours. Believe it or not. So however far you want to go back. 101 days, man. That's how it's going.
Yeah, I was right. It's about 3 months.
So, and then they have like other little stats on this. It's pretty cool. It's definitely different than what they used to have, but they have so he won it in May 21st, 2017 till today. So
Christ.
It doesn't seem that long, but it's been that long. And they have like little stats on there too, which is really interesting. From 2010 to the present day, they had 37 championship holders from 2010 to now. The longest reign, 435 days. The shortest reign, 2 minutes.
Wait, are we talking WWE champion?
The WWE Championship,
There's been 37 different WWE champions in 7 years.
Since 2010, that's what it's having, yeah. And then it also breaks down. You click on it, shows you like all the champions and the days. And then they have from 2000 to 2000.
Wait a minute. Does that include the WWE Championship and the World Heavyweight Championship?
I don't know. I'm looking at it because then they have from 2000 to 2009 saying there was 44 holders, and then from 90 to 99. So I wonder if they're breaking it down by the belt.
Because there were times where those belts were merged,
yeah,
and there were times where they were separate. And it's like, well, now we say that John Cena is a 16-time WWE champion. No, I mean, some of those reigns were the world heavyweight title.
Yep.
But I mean, technically, he's a 16-time, whatever, major champion. I get it, but I don't know if they're including that belt into that category or if it's.
Yeah, I have to look into it. You know what's funny? Just looking at these stats, and as we're talking about like the hot potato going on with these championships, what's really funny, and a lot of people hate Roman Reigns, but I'm not going to even say the names on here, but you have like the Reigns, 64 days, 50 days, 224 days, 220 days. We get to Roman Reigns, 10 minutes. And then it goes 23 days, 41 days, 70, 77, and then we get to 2 minutes, and that was Seth Rollins, and then back to 84 days, 140 days, 15 days, 49 days, and it's just funny because like some of these guys who should have probably held it a lot longer didn't. But yeah, man, it's.
How long did Ambrose hold it for?
Ambrose held it for 84 days.
That's not bad. It's not terrible. It's a little over 2 months.
Yep, and John Cena held it for 15 days from between AJ Styles and Bray Wyatt.
Oh, don't get me started on that one.
But still,
poor AJ Styles. He gets the rub from Cena. He goes on. He puts SmackDown on his back, makes it a must-watch show. And all of a sudden, Cena comes back out of nowhere and decides, okay, it's time for me to be the 16-time world champion, only to drop it after 15 days. And to who? Oh, fuck yourself.
Well, okay, we're talking about the hot potato going on with these championships, regardless of what it is, whether it's a tag team, whatever, Intercontinental, United States, women's championships. But Cooter, if you had to book it, you're Vince McMahon for forever. I know it's going to be depending on what's happening, but honestly, a perfect title reign in your eyes, like you're going to give it to this guy. How long should he hold it in your eyes? I mean, like, perfect booking, and like I said, there's many variables that could affect it, but how long should a champion to I don't know, make use of this title?
In today's era, I mean, because I know how people get sick of things so fast, but then you also have to appease the people who like it. I would say 6 months to a year, I think is good.
Fair enough for being a champion.
It's fair, to appease the marks who want to see a little bit of a reign. But, like we just said, Jinder Mahal has held that now for 3 months. And I'm like, he just won that last month. And you're like, no, Dick, you won it in May. You know what I mean? So, I mean, these things go by quicker than we think.
Yep. Yeah.
So, I mean, I think 6 months to a year, depending, year being for a champion who's very good at, defending the belt, sells tickets, sells his merch, gets us to get the motherfucking subscriptions on the WWE Network for $9.99, motherfucker. Again, 6 months to a year. I think it's perfect.
All right, now how about this? Because this is where I start to sour on stuff is when we have these reigns. And talking about Asuka first and foremost, because, for me, when Punk held it that long, it didn't bother me because I was definitely a fan of his. So,
right.
being a fan of somebody, I guess you kind of have that, it doesn't bother you so much. But Asuka, I didn't hate her. I was fine with her being women's champion. But then when it went on and on and on, now I'm turning against her to where I wasn't necessarily a big fan, but I didn't mind her. It was like I was fine with her. You know what I mean? But the longer she held it, the more I hated her. And I was just like, all right, we've seen it. You've been the champion. Move on. You know what I mean? Like, do you think that sours people from some, I mean, there's probably a lot of Asuka fans. She was a face, and then all of a sudden she just started turning into this heel because she just held it.
Well, that's how Punk's reign started, too. I mean, he was a face at first and then did the heel turn.
Yeah.
And that's when he dropped it to The Rock. But in terms of Asuka, I mean,
510 days.
You got to remember when she came in. First off, she beat Bayley, who was the last of the 4 horsemen that was left on the roster at the time. Mm-hmm. Okay? Once Bayley was gone, she made bums on that roster look good. Look at the list of people who she defended that belt against, and you'd be like, these bitches don't deserve to be in the ring with her. And she made each and every one of them look good. I mean, were there a few squash matches? Oh, yeah. I mean, forget about it.
Well, I'm sorry. It was 516 days and 22 hours, according to WWE.com. So Wikipedia was wrong on this one. So 516 days with that championship. I mean,
I didn't have an issue with it. I really didn't, because every match it was like, is she finally going to lose it? I really thought the last one against Ember Moon, she was dropping it, and we would get those thank you Asuka chants, and then she won, and I was like, wow, they're behind her.
Yeah,
they're going to make her an unstoppable. Let's hope they. Can you imagine she does that, and then after maybe 2 or 3 matches on the main roster gets a loss? All that was for nothing.
Here's something that'll blow your mind, because we're talking about hot potatoing, but there's only been 5 women's champions in NXT. Believe it or not.
There's got to be more than that.
Paige
Right.
held it for 274 days.
Okay.
Charlotte held it for 259.
Okay.
Sasha Banks 192.
Right.
Bailey with 224, and then Asuka with 516.
Really?
5 champions, and now that's not a hot potato.
That's okay. I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I'm good with that, because it's like everybody held it for a long amount of time, a decent amount of time, but then, like for me, Asuka was a little bit too much, a little too long, I guess, if you will. But she held it from April 1st, 2016 till just last week. So everybody pretty much held it for a year or so.
The title itself has been passed around a bunch this year too. I mean, I don't remember, when did Nakamura debut?
Last takeover, last WrestleMania takeover, I believe, the year before, not 2016, I believe.
Okay.
I'm going to it. I'm intrigued by this new website of looking at these title reigns.
I want to say, like, in the last year alone, I mean, we've had Samoa Joe, we've had Shinsuke Nakamura, we've had Bobby Roode, and now we have Drew McIntyre. Yes. I mean, that's 4 champs.
Yeah, so 12 days so far for Drew, but Bobby Roode held it 203 days. Nakamura held it for only his second reign, for 57 days. Samoa Joe 14 days. I'm going backwards, but then he held it 92 days his first time. So, but before that, guys were holding it, 122 days, 293 days for Finn Balor, 143 days for Kevin Owens, then 63 days for Sammy. 287 for Neville.
A lot of champions.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, we're up to the 100, almost 200 days plus for different things. Like Sami Zayn, I think, did it because of injury, right? He was injured, so he lost it, right?
No, Kevin Owens beat him for it.
Yeah, we only 63
All right,
days
so you said there's 5 women's NXT champions. How many men's NXT champions have there been?
Okay, even if it's the same guy, I'm gonna still count that as a different champion, right? So
no. I'm talking just
different guys.
Yeah.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So 11 because you have Shinsuke twice and Samoa Joe twice.
That's double.
I don't know. I mean, we have that perfect formula. I think we agree on that whole. At least 6 months to a year is a good reign. And a lot of those champions, when I was looking at it, a lot of them, like especially the women's for NXT, and a lot of the guys too, were at least holding it for a year, from year to year, and then they would kind of lose it depending on somebody was injured or something like that. But I don't know.
So they're trying to get too many. They're trying to get too many people over, and they think that the only way they can get them over is put a belt on them.
Yeah, and I think my problem with Asuka too is that, with NXT right now, they were going under a whole rebuilding phase. So right now it's kicking up. It's doing a lot better than what it was, and it's awesome again now. But there was a few months to where it was just like, a lot. We're trying to work with who's doing what. And
that was your opinion. I never really thought that there was a lull. I mean, there wasn't
too much, but
big name talent. But I mean, if you actually had watched.
With Asuka though, with the women's though, because that's what I was saying with Ember Moon. I was kind of like, okay, the first time she fought her, giving it to Ember Moon for, I don't know, a few weeks, like a quick reign or something, because like I was feeling like they had, when all the women left, I feel like all the women were gutted, and then they just brought in all these new women, and then it was like, Asuka, who's fighting Asuka, and we had no idea what was going on, so we didn't really have a strong base of women. So my point was. You give it to Ember Moon, now we have another credible woman down there. It was okay. She was a champion.
Look at the list of the defenses that she had. I mean, we're talking that no disqualification match. I think it was False Count Anywhere. No, it was a last woman standing match with Nikki Cross. She won. Oh God, it was a fatal 4-way with Peyton Royce, her tag team partner there, I forget her goddamn name, and Nikki Cross.
Yep.
And we were supposed to have there was supposed to be another. Well, they did have the triple threat. It was what was it? But I'm saying she's had a lot. They made good matches for Asuka with talent that they had.
Yeah.
With the bare minimum that they had, they did very well.
Yeah.
Ruby Riott was another one. I mean, they did, strategically place these ladies in line to keep Asuka busy. It's not like she was not defending that title, So
well, even with holding on to it for so long. Okay, for her, for example, yeah, she was injured, but NXT's formula down there has always been put people over on your way out. She didn't have to put anybody over, and she's already looking to go up to Raw and SmackDown. Is that good or bad, being a champion and then just leaving it, vacated to move on up? Okay, you're going to toss this title around, but for her, she held it for 516 days, and now she doesn't have to put anybody over down there. Does that kind of deflate? I don't know, because it's almost like you take that momentum of that person, and now it's pushed onto that next person of like, oh, this person beat so-and-so, now they have all that credibility. I feel like nobody beat Asuka, so nobody really has that credibility anymore.
I think that's good, though.
You think that will merge with the Mae Young Classic?
I hope,
none of these women have credibility now.
If they don't, then it was pointless.
Yeah.
If they market her as, listen, this woman was down there for God knows how long, nobody could beat her, and that's including Bayley, who at the time, was hotter than anybody on the main roster. And then she got in the main roster and everybody hated her, but that's a whole different story. You know what I mean? But there was nobody hotter than Bayley, and Asuka took her out. And it's like there's nobody could touch her. I mean, look at all these women that you have on the main roster that you could potentially put in a matchup with Asuka, and it would be like a dream match. Hmm. Here's an interesting scenario for you. I mean, there's been the talks of a Ronda Rousey coming to WWE. If that were to happen, suppose Asuka runs through everybody. Let's just say she goes. Who's the only the best mixed martial artist woman in the world? They could bill her as that, even though the bitch has got a glass jaw. But that's besides the point. Please, Ronda, I hope you don't hear this because I don't want you to kill me. But do you know what I'm saying? Like that would be like the undefeated Asuka versus like the legend Ronda Rousey. Like, holy shit. Mm-hmm. Now we got something. That's fuck money, bro.
So here, let me tell you this now. Okay, we talked about hot potatoing, right? Okay. Going back for too many titles. We talked about these streaks to where it's just so much, like Punk with his 435, Asuka with 516, and then even New Day had their own streak going too. Shouldn't these streaks, even you could throw in the Undertaker streak if you want, but that's not even a streak, but are these streaks happening too often now? I mean, like, I know some of them have been like a year or two between, but still, shouldn't, I don't know, I feel like sometimes these streaks should be special, almost like a no-hitter in baseball, where it's like once in a while kind of a thing, to where I feel like these undefeated streaks are just too many in a lifetime so far.
Again, this is what you do. I said this last week, and not in a disrespectful way. You nitpick. First, you complained about hot potatoing. Now it's like,
that's how I get a full hour out of everybody, ladies and gentlemen.
Maybe the problem is. Maybe we got too many fucking belts.
Yeah, and that's the thing is I love championships, but yeah, like I feel like you only needed one women's champion to where that women's champion could go back and forth to Raw or SmackDown.
That's what I said.
You know what I mean? And then that would be fine. Even the tag team champions, like just too many things, like have those go back and forth. They want their separate shows. They gotta have separate champions, and still, it's like you have one cruiserweight champion though, and that's the thing is, with that show kind of trying to get people to watch it, just forget about 205 Live and just put them on SmackDown and put them on Raw and just have, the champion go back and forth. And I think that'd probably make more sense to where the champions could go back and forth to the shows, and then that way you can keep it fresh to have whoever's working the program. But I almost feel like you fall into that void of the Universal Championship, for example, to where it's not on TV all the time. No,
but see, that actually to me is okay. I mean, with somebody like Brock Lesnar, at least, it makes sense. Brock Lesnar is an attraction. All right, let me ask you this. Kevin Owens made that title mean something. And that poor bastard had to give it to fucking Bill Goldberg, of all people.
God.
Which we have said time and time again, Brock Lesnar did not, and Bill Goldberg did not need a title for that match. It should have just been like a vicious grudge match.
Yep.
That being said, fuck it. Bill Goldberg also being a part-timer, do we need him? Really? That diminishes that title because nobody gives a fuck about Bill Goldberg. Brock Lesnar, on the other hand, could leave for 2 months with the belt, come back, and be as hot as anybody.
Yep.
I'm okay with that because he adds credibility to that belt.
Man, I'm just looking. I'm thinking back like the year. Like so much stuff happens in a year, and it does. But back and forth. We come back full circle with this hot potatoing of the championships to where does it diminish the prestige of these titles of somebody gets it this week and then it goes back to this girl in a few months or a few weeks, and just even going back to the women's championship. I mean,
some of these are head scratchers though.
Yeah.
I mean, like, all right, I read somewhere that I forget what match it was, but it was a Kevin Owens AJ match where I guess there was a botched finish, and that's why there has been some quick title changes.
Yes, I read that
because
too.
They had to get the belt back on AJ for some reason. I don't know what the fuck happened.
Yep, that's the thing. Yeah, they
that I get, but when we're giving a belt to Sasha Banks for the 4th time, and she loses it in 2 weeks, and then we give a belt to Akira Tozawa, who is a talented motherfucker.
Yeah. Out of anybody who could have beat her from Neville, and it was
6 days. Austin Aries didn't get that belt. He had amazing matches with Neville. Rich Swann had T.J. Perkins has great matches with all these guys. And again, it was like the Oscar reign. Who's going to beat Neville? Somebody finally does it. And to me, the whole Titus O'Neil and, who's the guy who smiles with him? The guy from NXT, you know who I'm talking about. Uha Nation there, whatever his fucking name is.
Apollo Creed.
Yeah, Apollo Crews, that's his name. There you go. I mean, this was fucking hilarious, and I'm like, okay, we could do something with this, only to what? Give it. It just I don't understand. When WCW used to do that, but they had a title for that. They had the World Television title.
Yeah.
Well, that one used to fucking change hands all the time. You didn't give a shit. You know why? Because that was a title that was defended every week.
Yeah.
On every fucking show. I mean, it's not like we get Intercontinental Championship matches every week or U.S. title matches every week, but apparently now we will. That being said, but they're not as special.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, that's why we fucking have reigns that last 2 weeks, because we have so many goddamn title matches.
It's funny because, like, as an outsider looking in, obviously we're not wrestlers. We don't know what's happening backstage. We don't know what they're saying or whatever. But, for me looking in, I feel like if you get a championship, it means you're the best right now. You're the hottest right now. The fans are behind you, regardless if it's your heel or face. But, it's almost like you've deserved it. What you've done, putting, your work in and out, day in and day out, you deserve this championship. And then when they play around with it, like, oh, you're a championship for a week and then that's it. It's like, do you even like the guy? Did you think it was a mistake, or I always thought it was like, if you get a championship, it's because either the crowd's behind you or you've just been a workhorse. Like for example, Natalya won the women's championship, which has been long over deserved.
Yes.
It's where I could see her deserving that. Like that's a thing she's worked for, to where what she does outside of the company, inside of the company, of just being there day in, day out, and just being that role model, whatever. That was a championship win, right? So that's like, but like, could you imagine if she won that and then lost it again to like, what's her name, cashing it in on her? Like, oh, that would have been like, come on,
Oh yeah, and I think a lot of people thought that was going to happen.
Yeah, and it's just blows my mind to where like this is happening, to where you give it to her 1 week and then she loses it the next week, and then it's like, what are we doing with these championships? Is it a mockery, or they mean something? And that's what I think we have to get back to. Full circle is, don't throw them around just for making ratings go up and down or whatever. Just, have them mean something. I think the fans will probably take more into that than having it like, oh, I should have watched Raw because I missed the women's championship change again.
I wonder if it has anything to do with like merchandise.
I don't know.
Because you know how they always make like the plates for the champion for whatever belt it is. I'm sure they sell those online, right?
Yeah.
Maybe. I don't know.
I don't know.
Because I'm not understanding a lot of the like. I hate harping on this. 6 days.
I know.
I don't get it. What was the point? Just to break up Neville's like streak?
I know. It's
which title change in the last year has probably pissed you off the most?
I would say the women's. I think the women's pissed me off because it was going back so many times. Like Charlotte would win it, and then Sasha would win it, and then Charlotte would win it, and it's like, okay, who do you fucking like? Just pick somebody and make them be the fucking champion. You know, like that's. But I was pissed off more recently with Tozawa and like little short reigns like that. But just with the women's, it was like for one point, it was just for 2 months back and forth. It was just like, all right, enough. Just fucking decide.
I felt
stop
like
building
it was
around this damn
1997, 98 again, where it was like titles were fucking being passed around like horrors from Poughkeepsie. Just like
put us on the map.
Because that was the thing. If you didn't have a computer or you weren't watching every week, you would be lost.
Yep. Oh.
In like 2 weeks, you'd be like, "How the fuck that motherfucker get that belt?"
I know.
Like it was interesting. There's just been a lot of head scratchers. I mean,
I think they just got to throw it back and let's make champions mean something again. You know, make championships great again. You know, at the end of the day.
Well, it'll never happen. We got to sell shit, motherfucker.
I know. Well, you know, you've listened to us talk for a while, but we want to hear from you too. Make sure you head on over and call the AWP hotline at 802-297-7672. That's 802 AWP 7672. Tweet us at a wrestling pod. Facebook us, anotherwrestlingpodcast.com. You know, all that stuff. Just head on over anotherwrestlingpodcast.com, right? That's where everything is. We want to hear from you. What do you think about this hot potatoes of the championships? Let us know.
Yeah, what he said, bitches.
You watching the Mae Young Classic?
Yeah, I just finished watching the first round. It's not bad. Some decent workers in there.
Yeah, I'm glad they named it after Mae and not Moolah.
Why? What do you got against Moolah?
You can't name a tournament after a fucking pimp.
Oh, man.